Who knew that by the end of the day we would be riding in a huge tractor planting corn seeds across a Nebraska farm? Sometimes I really love the RV life.
Here we go. All we need is an open road and a chance to see a never-ending world that's beautiful. Here we go with the sunlight on our skin. It's a brand new day. It's ours to take and we will let it in. This is where the adventure begins.
We headed north from Dodge City across the seemingly endless plains of Kansas, crossing into Nebraska. Neither Karen or I could remember having been to Nebraska before, but we were both eager to experience another state. We were on small two-lane roads most of the day. Eventually, we arrived in the small town of Imperial, Nebraska. With a population of just over 2,000, it is the one place in the area that you can actually buy gas. Now, we were heading another 15 minutes west to the farm of Dale and Elisa Large. They are a boondockers welcome site, and we had a reservation to stay at their place. It's a 640-acre farm run by the Large family, and they've run it for 4 generations. Elisa gave us a welcome goodie bag, and Dale took us to the side of one of the barns and helped us to get situated. Later, Dale graciously took us on a tour of the farm, explaining modern family farming to us city slickers. We started in one of his enormous barns.
We use this building not only for storage, but in the off season, we bring our machinery in here. We have one of my employees is very good at doing mechanical work, so he's our mechanic, and that's his job as our maintenance manager on this whole farm. And so we go through a lot of our equipment during the year, and so when we get ready to use it in the springtime, in the summer, whenever it is, it's ready to go. The trailer that you see sitting right there that you're looking at, we put seed wheat, any of our wheat, corn, seed that we want to plant. We can store in there, start up a motor, and then with hydraulics, we open a door up here, the seed falls out. This is what the corn seed that we're planting is. It's
so
a regular,
coated with something.
It's coated with an insecticide, because all the soils have microbial activity and bugs in them, and so this helps prevent that seed and wire worms, whatever it is, from eating up the germination within that seed. And then, so it's stored into here. It comes out here, runs up the conveyor belt, out through the trough and into the planter. We have our own fleet of trucks on the place for holding harvest. At harvest time, we use them to transport our crops to the grain storage or wherever it needs to be. And once we get done with harvest in the grain storage, and we got that all filled up, then during the winter months, December, January, February, March, and then some during the summertime, we'll reuse these trucks to take our grain out of our grain storage, our own personal grain storage, to a feed processor, an ethanol plant, a feedlot, the end market where we sell our crops to. We are trying to bypass, with our own trucks, with our own grain storage, we bypass probably 2 intermediate people. It's worth it, because right now, if I can haul some places, it's as much as 50 cents a bushel of corn.
Wow.
Difference in what I can receive selling it to direct versus what I do selling to somebody else. And then they're going to sell it back to the same guy.
Right.
This operation as a whole, we got 3 tractors running in the field putting seeds in the ground.
Wow.
Hopefully we will be done with planting all the corn by 15th of May. And then about June 1st, then we will take one planter or something. And then we've got to plant the pinto beans about the 1st of June. So we get a little break in there, but it's just like sometimes, even though we take a break, it's just like, I gotta get started again.
So can you tell me again, how big is the operation? How many acres you'd said?
We own and manage about 4,000 acres. But with our custom stuff, we're over 7,000.
Then we headed out in a couple of pickups and drove out across the fields. Have you ever seen those large sprinklers off in the distance when driving by a farm? Dale explained how these enormous contraptions work.
Okay, up at the middle is a central control box that we can just say, okay, we want it to put on X amount of water per acre, or we want it to run at a certain time. So we'll set a timer at like 30%. And so 30% of the time, this tower here will turn on and move through the field. It hits electricity to the center drive and the motor right in the middle, just like your automobile. Sends a drive line out, turns the tires, and this thing walks around in a circle. The water is pumped out of an irrigation well up at the middle, and then down through the overhead pipe and out each individual nozzle and sprinkler you see here. All regulated in size, so as this thing moves around the field, this sprinkler here, or this square footage here, will get the same amount of water as that at the middle, because these are larger nozzles than there.
Oh, okay.
They're all regulated in pressure, so that the pressure, which determines your output of your sprinkler, is all the same. So therefore we get a nice, even, consistent water pattern from end to end. In like late June, July, and August, those nozzles most of the time are down either into the canopy of the corn or right at the top. And so days like today, with 20-mile-an-hour winds and 90-degree temperatures, I get a lot less water evaporation than if that sprinkler was right up under the what we call the trusses, or clear up on top. When sprinklers were first invented, that's where all the water distribution was on top.
Right.
And we lost, I'm going to say, there's days that we were probably losing 20% of our water just due to evaporation.
I've always wondered, seeing these from afar, if how much damage these do to the crops, because they're,
these run over top of the crop. So the only place that we do any damage would be just right where these tires run, and it's just a track only about that
wide. Yeah.
And with the water coming out of that nozzle, the water creates its own lubricant almost, and so this slides through the corn. Those slide through the corn without any damage, because we are metered and we're allocated. So we can only pump so much water for our crop over a period of 5 years. We set on a very big aquifer of water underneath, and our forefathers, such as back at a regulatory agency back in the 70s, says, that is a natural resource, we want to protect it. So we're not going to overuse it. And so we haven't been able to drill any new irrigation wells in this area since 45 years ago, because in 83 was the last year they drilled expansion of irrigated acres. So, and then we went down, we used to be able to pump 16, 17 inches of water per year. It was our allocation. Now we're at 12.5.
Oh, wow.
So, and our climate's actually gotten drier, and I have no idea, but it's just a weather cycle is what I keep saying. And so it's making us become more and more efficient in managing our water. And so we're doing it not only by what you've seen there, by dropping the nozzles down, we're rotating crops, we're even saving water by how we do our tillage. We only till that thing one time in a strip only 7 inches wide. We plant it, and then that's all the tillage we have for the rest of the year. And then next year we just move over and do another 7 inches back over here. Well, because every time you till the soil, you almost lose a half to an inch of potential moisture. And for us in a drier environment, water is drain. Water is money. From the time water leaves here to there, I've got a check valve, so no water that I've ever pumped that way will ever come back and pollute the well. If I put any chemicals, which I'm allowed to do, out of this tank into that water, there's a check valve here that it has to go through. And then if there's any leak, then it has to be drained out back here. They don't want it back down the well.
Right.
We drain it back out on the ground where it's a natural filter. Electricity's all tied together, so one thing shuts off, it all shuts off. They have to be inspected once a year. We have to be certified every 4 years to buy chemicals, 3 years to put them through the center pivot.
Then we were off again to another field that was currently being planted by Nate. Nate is a relative of the Large family and left a job repairing large farm equipment to work and maybe eventually run the farm. Nate took us on a great ride on a modern tractor, and we planted several rows of crops. This modern marvel uses GPS to precisely plant and catalog the location of each seed and run the rows straight and true. This information is saved so that the tractor will know where to go back and apply just the right amount of fertilizer and insecticide, and the harvester will know where to line up to pick the crops most efficiently. It's amazing. And that puts you right on the money, doesn't it?
Yep.
It's amazing.
At least that's what we hope anyway.
Yeah, well.
As long as all of our calibrations are in good and everything like that, we should be doing exactly what it says.
It's a pretty good clip too. I mean, speed.
Yep. I couldn't go that fast on the last field I was on. It was just too rough. So this is a lot smoother field than that one.
About how many acres is this field you're doing right now?
This field right now is about 125.
And how long will it take you to?
I'll get this half done tonight. This half will probably take me probably roughly 3 hours.
Not too bad.
Nope. Depending on how I feel, if I still have product left, I'll just keep on going and finish it out and call it a night.
So how long have you been farming?
This is the second year. I just came out here last year, first part of the year last year, to help Dale and everything like that. And I was a bachelor for that first 6 months last year because my wife and kids were still out in eastern Nebraska. They finished school, and my oldest boys played select baseball in the town that we lived in. So couldn't really take them away from that. So they stayed out there until baseball season was over, and they came out.
How old are your kids?
So I've got 13, an 11, and an 8.
Wow, that's a handful.
It is a handful, and they keep me out of trouble.
Yeah, I was a junior high teacher for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So 13-year-old. That was. I lived that. So you were raised in Nebraska then? Is that where you're from?
Yep. Yeah, I went to school out here. I was been born and raised in Nebraska. Haven't really went too far out of state for very long.
So you're lining yourself up on that line?
Yep, the line right there. And I hit a button and the tractor takes over, and as long as I put the planter down at the right spot, it starts turning the seed rows on to start laying seed right at the border. Well, our goal is to try to have about 15 inches between the border and when this row starts. So when combine comes around, we're not knocking down corn and potential yield loss.
Yeah. How hard is it to keep this thing tuned up? I mean, I would think there's so many moving parts and things have to be synced up, and
If you stay on top of it, it's really not too bad. A lot of it is self-adjusting and everything like that. Yeah. Of course, parts wear out and everything.
Yeah.
But that's the main thing we really got to worry about is parts getting wore out or breaking or something like that. There really isn't a whole lot of maintenance to this planter anyway. We just, as parts get wore out, we just replace them.
Yeah.
Last year we pretty much completely rebuilt it. All the discs in there. There's a firming point for the seed bed for seed to lay down in. All those were replaced. There's mud scrapers on the opening discs, so if we get into mud, it'll scrape the mud off and we don't plug row up and everything. So all those were replaced, and all new seed meter discs, and there's little bearings inside those seed boxes that help drive the seed meters, and all of those were wore out and whatnot. So there's 32 of those little son of a guns, and those were all replaced. It was like pretty much like a brand new planter last year. So, but after 21,000 acres of working, something was bound to be wore out. So what did you teach in junior high?
Shop. I was a shop teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of all my fingers, so that's good.
That's always a good thing, and hopefully all your students walked away with all 10 fingers,
Yep.
9 toes.
Yep. So I did shop for a while, and then I did, and we did a lot like this. I remember I was teaching woodworking first, and I wanted to put a computer in the wood shop.
Oh, okay.
You know, which of course back then, people said you can't put a computer in the wood shop, and I said, yeah, you can. You know, now everything's computerized,
Yeah.
but it's like back then it was like, yeah, I was innovative. Go figure. I had to talk the principal into, I want to buy a computer. We're going to do drawings. We're going to do, you know, and then later we're going to control machines, and then, yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
But it's just, yeah, now that I look at that and I go, yeah, because I taught for 30 years. So
Okay.
this was like, you know, 30 years ago. and now, you know, you don't teach wood shop without teaching computer, numerical, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just the way things change. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, even when I was back in high school, a lot of this technology
Yeah.
wasn't out yet. You know, even like auto guidance on tractors really. I mean, there were farmers that had a way to guide the tractor, but it was kind of an old school way of, you know, if they strip tilt like we did, they had something in the row where the planter tractor was going to ride, and they put that drive tire right in that row.
Yep, right.
And they hardly ever touched the wheel.
Yep.
After that, so.
Thanks for watching. We would appreciate you taking a moment to like this episode with a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel and clicking on the bell. That bell gives you a heads up when we publish a new video. We appreciate you helping us spread the word about Are We There Yet? by a like and subscribe. We'll leave a link in the show notes for Boondockers Welcome, a part of Harvest Hosts. We love stopping and meeting locals as we travel using the Harvest Hosts program. I'll link at the end of the video to more of our Harvest Hosts adventures. For Karen, Wesley, and myself, we wish you happy travels. See you next time.
Well, isn't it?
Yep.
How many tornadoes do you get around here? Looking at
Kind
the
of one every about 5 years, we'll get a tornado warning.
And you have like a cellar you have to go into?
Well, our basement has got a pretty good broom in it.
He seems like a genuinely nice guy too.
Yes.
So
Yeah, super nice.